So a bit of a different episode, because this is a best of episode, which some may think is a bit of a piss take. However, we're going to be busy and or away over the next couple of weeks. So we've edited some of the answers to our standard questions with our guests. So hopefully if you've just found this one and it's a best of, then you'll go back and listen to the full episodes, which are all available wherever you get your podcasts.
But where would that be?
Wherever you like. Spotify, Amazon, Apple, where else? Stitcher, Castbox, Google Podcasts. Everywhere you get a podcast, we're there.
That's incredible. That is amazing. I'm trying to think what the best bits would be. Obviously, every bit that I'm not talking in would be amazing.
Well, we could have one where it's a best of that's basically just me and you talking, but I've tried to cut those bits out, so it's just yes.
Oh, there.
Right. Before we go any further, I've got two things. First one is a bit of listener feedback. So this is from Dave in Cardiff. So hello, Dave. Who says, I discovered your podcast about a week ago and I've now listened to them all. Just wanted to thank you both for what you're doing. I thoroughly enjoyed them all. They got even better as I went through them. I like the laid back, informal, down-to-earth style. I hope you keep doing the podcast and it grows huge.
Wow.
Love it.
I mean, he listened to it a week ago and he's listened to everything. I mean, God love him, but
yeah,
maybe wants to get out a bit more.
Well, I mean, he's doing better than you because he's listened to all the
episodes. Yeah. I'm getting there. I've listened to 2.
Okay, well, you take it easy, mate. But that was really lovely. That really cheered me up. That did.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to know that we're doing something positive.
Yeah, another global listener. We've made it to Wales.
Yes, that's always good.
That's good. Yeah.
With our new question of hope, it's nice that someone has got on board and gone, this is good.
Yes, I like it. I like it a lot.
And your second thing?
The second thing, I've got a vegan quandary for you.
Ooh, don't ask me.
Well, so this is for you.
I'm not a perfect vegan, so how am I going to answer it?
Well, so this is, being a perfect vegan actually is a really good term for this particular quandary. And I would be really interested to hear not just your answer, Wes, of course, but also that of our listeners. So a friend at work is running a marathon and he's going to be raising money for a charity. Also good so far.
Sounds pretty good.
But that charity tests on animals. So what I thought was, I don't really want to support testing on animals.
Nope.
However good the cause is.
Nope.
So I'll see if I can identify an alternative charity in a similar field that doesn't test on animals.
Okay.
And donate to them instead.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But I couldn't find one.
Oh.
So
what do they do? Let's not name the charity because I assume that would be bad.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I got the information from a website that's freely available. So I can't remember who it was through, but it's basically someone's contacted charities and asked if they test on animals.
Okay.
And there's just basically a list of almost every charity you could think of and whether they support testing on animals or not.
Right.
Because I know when people run a marathon to raise money for a charity, they have to raise a certain amount, don't they?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they have to, I guess, make up the shortfall themselves. Which
yes.
So if I didn't support him, it might have a direct impact on him, a direct financial impact on him. But also, I don't want to support a charity that supports testing on animals.
Yeah. My initial thought was that you're right, that you don't want to support it. However, I work for a charity that it's supporting dads, but they're not particularly, the guys I work with aren't vegan friendly.
No.
Our main boss is vegan, but that wouldn't be advertised.
No.
That's a personal thing, so that's fine.
Yeah. It's not run as a
if it was
vegan charity.
not, I'm sort of going around in silly circles. If it was cancer research, now I've got an argument about cancer research that most cancers can be prevented by being vegan. So why would you support them?
It's a real tricky one. I've been going back and forth with it all week, trying to work out what's the most appropriate course of action to take.
How close a friend is he?
Oh, if I didn't donate at all, I don't think he would notice.
I wouldn't worry about it then.
But I just thought it's an opportunity to think about it for when you do the marathon next year.
Oh yeah.
but you know what I mean.
For the listeners, I'm not doing the marathon this year. That was a very joke.
So the guy who's running it is not a close friend. He is a friend, but he's not a close friend. So
right. Yeah.
And I think if I explained why I wasn't, if he asked me about it and I explained why I wasn't, I think he would accept it. But if then, I don't know, say my, a really close friend or like a sister decided that they were going to do something for charity, and it was a charity that tested on animals, how would I deal with that?
Yeah, honestly, I just wouldn't sponsor them. I don't think. I think I'd be black and white about it and just say no. That's my own personal opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody else, but I think I'd just go. I'm not going to sponsor you. If you want me to sponsor you, go and do it for another charity.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, give some money to a vegan charity perhaps instead.
Yeah, or any other charity that is either it doesn't have any vegan or animal welfare connotations. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but then I'm sure there are charities. The RNLI,
there are.
RNLI, for example, the air ambulance. Those sorts of things. It doesn't. It's neither in or there. But if it's a charity that is specifically testing on animals, and there could be another organisation that doesn't, then it's ultimately a grey area. No, you don't want to be paying into that, do you?
No, exactly.
God, you've really shook the cat amongst the pigeons, ain't you, with this one?
I know, yeah. Sorry about that.
God, it's supposed to be a best of, and you brought it right down.
I'm going to give one shout out before we go, and that is to our friends at the vegan podcast Veg Your Best, who are celebrating their 100th episode this week.
Oh, wow.
Which is, so that's one episode a week for 100 consecutive weeks, which is
Bloody
even more impressive because we're on episode 15 and it's taken us about 6 months. So that's a really, really good achievement. Basically, it's hosted by Chelle, and she is a vegan life coach. So if you're interested, then check it out. They're really, really interesting.
Sounds amazing.
Yes.
I always think, because I listen to like distraction pieces with Scroobius Pip, and he does at least one episode every week. I'm like,
at least one episode a week.
And sometimes he'll do two. He'll do like a bonus one. I mean, that's most of his job. Is that he's got started an acting career as well, but he's doing the podcast his main thing now. So it's like, well, I guess we haven't got the time because we're working. So he's doing it because this is his income. But yeah, I think bloody hell, we struggle to get one a week.
Blimey, yeah. That's
Mostly me having too much going on.
yeah. Well, also, I mean, the editing takes quite a while.
I know. And our editing team is amazing as well.
I know they are really good, the editing team. They are really good, all 6 of them. It does take a while. It does take a while. So, but you've also got to do the sort of pre-production stuff, if you like. You know, you've got to think of stuff to say. You've got to line up a guest. You've got to make sure the guest got the questions. You've got to fit in a time and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So enjoy the best of episode, and we'll be back very soon with a brand new guest. If you want to get involved, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search for How I Vegan Podcast.
And if you want to email us, get in touch at howiveganpodcast@gmail.com. What's your vegan story?
So I first went vegan, I think I was about 16 or 17, so a long time ago, over 20 years ago.
Ancient.
So that's why I'm ancient. But I can't say that I've been vegan the whole time, as I'll explain. Yes, I was vegan for probably about 8 years, 7 years, and then I got pregnant, and then I went back to eating dairy and a bit of fish, because back then there wasn't really much information about being pregnant when you're vegan. I think it was just a bit of an unknown. I didn't really think, I could do it healthy. I didn't really know where to go for advice. This was also pre-Facebook even, so there was no sort of Facebook support groups or anything there. So yeah, I felt as a mum, it was the sensible thing to do, to go back to eating dairy. So once I'd gone back, and then I had 2 kids, and then kind of you just get on that roller coaster of being a parent. So I did just carry on eating. I didn't eat meat for quite a long time, and then 2014 I got quite poorly, and I did go back to eating meat for a little while, purely because it was just that kind of, I feel crap, I don't know what's wrong with me. I've read some stuff that it could be related to diet, and I think when you're in that kind of thing of, gosh, I'm gonna just try anything at the minute to try and make myself feel better, you do, and I did. And I went back to eating meat, and it was probably for about 2 years, and I can honestly say the whole time I felt, this doesn't feel like, I hadn't eaten red meat for 20, well, yeah, probably need over 20 years actually. I went vegetarian when I was quite young, so it didn't feel right, but I felt like maybe it was something I should do at that time. But anyway, after a couple of years, I just felt, I can't remember what it was. I think I'd been out for a meal and I'd had a few drinks, and I felt a bit rubbish the next day, and it was just like something had switched in my head, and I just thought, I'm gonna be vegan again, and that were it. And that was 4 years ago, I think, and I've been vegan ever since. And now I can honestly say I can't ever see myself going back. But I think there's so much more out there. There's so much more information. There's so much more options and advice and support and stuff, that I can't see that I would ever go back now.
I came in one night and she was watching Cowspiracy, and I was like, I ain't watching this crap. I'm not gonna. No, I ain't interested in this. I sat there on my phone, and she was watching it. I was sat on my phone flicking through, and it was just like, I don't know, 20 minutes in, I started getting hooked. And by the end of it, at least, I was like full on. This is shocking. This is disgraceful. And I remember saying, there's a credits roll, and I went, will it save us money if I went vegan? And she went, well, yeah, of course it will. And I went, right, I'm in. How was it?
Basically, once we'd heard that you two had gone over to the light side, we watched Cowspiracy and then What the Health, and we were both like, Yeah, I'm up for that, definitely. And then basically finished off what was in the freezer, and that was it.
So I had my parents were vegan for a while, and I'd had thoughts about being vegan since like year 6. I'm in year 9 now. There was the risk of being bullied because I chose to not eat meat, because at the time it was like not big. So if you were vegan or had some sort of thing like that, you would be picked up on and whatever. So when I left school about a year ago, I decided to change and go vegan. At the start, I did the opposite of vegetarian, of trying not to have milk and eggs and stuff, but still eat meat, which went off within about a week because it was just couldn't. And then it did. It's been a bit on and off, but it's just been a bit hard because, like, when you go out with your friends to places and they're not vegan, they always hand you sweets with gelatin in them or milk and whatever, and you like to get sweets that are vegan in a corner shop's not easy. And also it's been a bit hard to like pick up on gelatin and milk and stuff, because I always end up missing it on the ingredients. There was a lot of I've been thinking about going vegan, but there was just that risk of being made fun of at secondary school and primary school, if that.
I started eating vegetarian at the end of my final year in Polytechnic. One of my mates started, I don't know why, but he started eating pulses and all this sort of thing. And at the time, I was heavily into weight training, but I was doing a lot of weight training. I wasn't particularly big, but I was, banging in a lot of protein. So it was a lot of milk, cheese, all that kind of thing, fish, chicken, and all that. And then he started doing that. And my sister had been vegan whilst I was at school, and she's a year below me. So I knew about it, but I'd always ignored it, really. Wasn't bothered about it, thought it was a bit of a joke. And then when I just started eating, I think it's just the fact of eating something different. So my mate was going, oh, let's try this now in the student house. All right, yeah, that's all right. So eating a bit more of it. And then, so that was in my final year. So it would have been actually from about the January, we changed house to the students, and we sort of did that then. So I'd say by the end of that year, I'd got to vegetarian. So just cutting out the meat, the beef, cutting out the chicken, cutting out the fish, and it was just in stages. And yeah, so at the end of the year, I was vegetarian. I'd gone home, my mother cooked me something. I said, no, all right, that's cut out now. This is cut out now, and all this. And then, so I was like that for about 2 years into my first job. And I shared a house with a guy who worked for, I don't know if it still exists, MAF, Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Fisheries. Mm-hmm. And he was like a business advisor for farms and things. Well, we were sat watching, I don't know if it was Panorama or something or other on TV one night. And it showed chickens and egg laying and all this. And the chickens were going down a conveyor to sorting, male and female, and then the male chicks were off to their death. And I just turned and I said, is that true then? Is that what happens over here? And he said, yeah, of course it is, didn't you know? And I'd always thought, like, I'll have free range eggs or this kind of thing, and it'd be all nice and cozy, and it's not a problem, And as soon as he said that, I went, that's it then. That's it. And I think dairy came along with that anyway, but I just said that's it. I'm going vegan. So I ate what I had in the fridge, which was probably about a pound of cheese and about 2 dozen eggs or something.
That's a big omelette.
After that, so yeah, it was a stack of it, you know, because I was weight training, I was eating loads of eggs, loads of cheese, loads of whey protein powder, and so I gave that all up, and then I'd say it, and I wasn't very heavy or anything, but in the space of a week, I reckon I lost half a stone, and that was probably not because of the lack of calories, I think, but more the fact that it was just a complete diet change, you know, because it was nowhere near as much fat or protein I still took, but nowhere near the calories really. I don't know, but anyway, yeah. So I was sort of quite happy like that, and I never really questioned it. It was all a case of, you know, these days I see people who they talk about, oh, I'm sort of vegan, I'm nearly vegan, I'm 90% vegan, I'm this, I'm that, and for me it was a case of, right, I'm vegan and that's it.
Yeah.
And I just looked for, like, it was, now it's plant proteins and all this, so I just searched for instead of whey protein for my weight trainer, I was searching for other things. I was eating a lot more beans and pulses and the like.
I've been vegan for 6 years, but I haven't eaten meat for 26 years. I think it all started from about the age of 8. I was having fish at school, and I had a fish bone stuck in my throat, and I said to my parents, I said that, because they said it were fish, and I said, no, fish isn't fish, and they went, it is. Oh, well, I'm not eating that anymore, I went, and they sort of went, really? And they said, well, you eat fish fingers, and I said, well, I'm not eating them either, and I didn't, and I haven't eaten fish since I was 8 years old.
Wow.
I'm now 55. 26 years ago, no, it's actually going back before that. I was about 12 years old, and I decided at 12 that I wanted to be a vegetarian, but I kept thinking, as silly as it sounds, that you have to eat meat, and if you don't eat meat, you'll die, basically, because I was a young kid.
Yeah.
And so what I was doing, I was given sort of like a Sunday dinner sometimes with chicken, and I'd take all the chicken off the plate and put it in a carrier bag and then secretly feed it to the dog. But then I thought, well, if I'm doing that, then I might as well eat it. So I went back to eating meat, and it's sort of like a phase for 24 hours. But I got married to my ex-wife, Nikki, and she decided that she was going to become vegetarian. And I was a bit apprehensive and thought, I don't really know whether I want to do it, even though it had been on my mind for years. So she was a vegetarian for about 6 months. And then I decided, my eldest daughter had just been born, and she was premature. I had to go to Oxford and back every single day. And I was on the, when she went back to Kettering, I was on the A14, and I saw a truck full of animals. And I sort of said to myself there and then, that's it, I'm going to stop eating meat. And I went home to her and I said that I'm not eating meat anymore. And she said, you idiot. I said, well, why? She said, I've just bought a whole load of frozen meat and that. I said, don't worry, I'll eat it. So I'm gone a couple of weeks eating meat, thinking I'm going to become a vegetarian soon. And I was on my last plate, and I went to put the fork in my mouth with the meat on it, and she said, stop. I looked at her a bit confused. She said, that's the last meat in the house. So I said, well, I might as well enjoy it then. And I actually put it in my mouth and took a long, slow chew on it, thinking this is the last time I'll ever try meat, and I've not eaten it since.
Wow, what a memory.
Yeah, and then 6 years ago, there was the veganuary, and I was toying with it, and I put some post up on Facebook. No likes or comments as usual, you know, and but I was still eating cheese, and then I thought, I've got to stop. And at first it was, I'll be vegan, but if we go out for a family meal, then I'll you know, I'll have a vegetarian meal. And I thought, I'm not doing it. You know, I did one meal and I was ill. You know, it was some sort of milk in it or something, and I was ill. So, yeah, 6 years ago now.
I think I first went veggie when I was about 14, but I can't actually remember what prompted me to. You know, it's a long time ago. It's decades ago. Obviously, it must just be, you know, I've always loved animals, but I can't remember sort of any particular reason why I just suddenly decided I was going to go vegetarian. I can always remember I never really enjoyed eating meat that looked like meat, if you know what I mean, like a Sunday roast where you've got, I don't know, a chicken on the table and it still looks like a chicken. I never liked things on the bone. I suppose I just made that association that it still looked like an animal. So yeah, I just stopped when I was about 14, and that was just sort of on and off over the years. I brought my kids up as vegetarian at home. If they went out, they could eat what they wanted to, but you know, at home everything was veggie. And then I suppose I had quite a few vegan friends, so I was kind of like open to the idea. I wasn't like in a little bubble. And I had like one of these sort of epiphany moments, I suppose. And I was laid, it sounds like really hippie, I was laid in
That's
Shavasana.
fine, go for it.
Yeah, laid in Shavasana in my yoga class. And, you know, I don't know what the teacher was saying, but I sort of realized I couldn't ever sort of be at peace with myself or happy in myself if I was consuming something that had gone through so much trauma and suffering. Almost like you say, they don't like, I suppose some farmers sort of promote their meat, don't they, by saying, oh, it's happy cows, and like there's that muscle memory, so you know it tastes better because they were happy. I suppose I had that in my head, and I was thinking, well, none of these animals are happy.
No,
because
they're not killed by hugs.
And surely when they're killed, which is never humanely, because they don't walk in willingly, then that fear must, you know, go into the food that you're eating. And if I'm then eating that, then yeah, I'm then consuming all this fear. And yeah, I suppose I just had this moment. I was just like, I need to stop eating this. And then I think I became like one of those really, what I would now find one of those annoying vegans who are like one of those almost vegan. You know, when you say you're vegan, and says, oh yeah, I'm almost vegan. I think I was one of those for a while who sort of, if I went, maybe I was vegan at home, but if I went out, I probably wouldn't be, or I might occasionally, or I'd just have a little bit of milk or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I became one of those annoying vegans for a bit, who aren't really vegan, but they like to think they are.
Yeah.
And yeah, then I was talking to my daughter one day. We live sort of near a farm that raises beef, and we used to always walk down and look at sort of the baby cows, and I just sort of talked to her about, you know, why these baby cows weren't with their mothers and everything, and she just looked at me and just said, that's it, I'm being vegan. And we both just went vegan overnight about 3.5 years ago. And that made it much easier, because obviously before it's really hard, you know, cooking something for yourself if you've got to then cook something different for your kids. So yeah, she just went overnight, and yeah, that's the rest is history. My son still isn't vegan. I'm still hopeful, but he's quite
vegetarian.
Happy. He's well, I don't think he is technically. He was brought up vegetarian, so I don't think he actually even tried any meat till maybe, I can remember once him going, he was doing his A-levels, and they some of them must have just learnt to drive, so they were going off in their lunch break, and he said, oh no, they went down to McDonald's, and he was like 17, he'd never been in a McDonald's in his life ever before. And I was quite proud of him. He'd come back and he said, "Oh, it's okay, Mum. I had to go to McDonald's, but I didn't buy any food. I just got a drink." So I was
That's
quite proud of
good.
him.
Good.
Yeah. So he's still, he's at uni now. He'll eat anything, but when he's home, he's happy. He's happy to cook vegan, and he's happy to
Okay.
eat it. And he knows not to bring anything into the house.
I guess like the seeds of it were sown back in the 80s. So my brother, I've got 3 younger brothers, and they all kind of figure in my story really of running and veganism. But the next brother down from me, he was only like 10 or 11 or something, and he gave up eating meat when he was, I don't know, it's like in the mid 80s, which was pretty unusual for a young lad, you know, at a time when, you know, it was meat and 2 veg basically. And so, you know, so it became like a thing, you know, in our household. So, you know, it's something that we talked about because it was, you know, we were around, we used to actually sit at a dinner table and eat meals like in the olden days, you know. So it was kind of a thing, you know, it kind of got me thinking. I mean, I was only a young teenager. And then we kind of got to kind of the late 80s, and I went to college, and you know, my friends, you know, we were all kind of pretty alternative and a bit weird and everything. And, you know, some of our friends were listening to the Smiths, and obviously they had that album Meat is Murder. Some of my friends probably thought it was cool to go vegetarian just to annoy their parents and, you know, cause a fuss at home at meal times, you know. So that kind of became a thing. And then my best mate went vegetarian, and I kind of thought, well, you know, we had pets and stuff, and I thought, well, you know, I like animals, I probably don't really want to eat them. So I just went vegetarian when I was like 17. I think the thing that's the switch that turned me over was like eating a McDonald's hamburger and just thinking that's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
And that was it. And then just an absolute full stop on the meat then from the age of 17. So that was it. So then I was vegetarian for 30 years. But, you know, I did have like the thought that, you know, animal lives were valuable. You know, I always maintained that their lives were as valuable as ours, you know, if we didn't have a right to eat them. So kind of looking back, you know, my motivations were, you know, my heart was in the right place, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And which is, you know, you get a lot of debate from vegans, and vegetarians often get lambasted, but I think it's really unfair because, you know, they're potentially tomorrow's vegans, you know, just with the right information.
Mm.
But anyway, yeah, so that went on, and you know, 30 years vegetarian. And then I guess it's just, you know, the rise of social media and just having more information available to you on a daily basis, probably, you know, videos popping up, finding out more about, you know, how eggs are produced and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't like willfully burying my head in the sand, but I'd been a bit lazy and not sought out the information about this stuff. So that just like became available. And, you know, being a very kind of logical thinker, it's just kind of like, well, now I have all this evidence, you know, this is my moral standpoint, and now I've got all this evidence to tell me that I should be doing something different. So I just kind of thought, well, that's it, you know, I've reached a point where the balance has been tipped, you know, and I know what I should be doing. And kind of another brother came into the equation as well, because my youngest brother, Damien, went vegan before I did. So probably, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, with his partner. And that, again, that gets you thinking, you know, gets the wheels in motion. And then, yeah, 3.5 years ago, I think I went fully vegan. And it was overnight, you know, a lot of people just kind of say, well, I cut out milk and I cut out cheese or whatever, and that's totally fine. But I'm very much like a black and white thinker. It's like, well, I either am going to be vegan or I'm not going to be vegan. And I think I chose January the 1st as the day, you know. I always try and do something, you know, it's usually lose weight, but I just went vegan overnight 3.5 years ago. So it was like, it wasn't like an emotional decision. It was just purely based on logic and facts, and I had the evidence. Just did it, you know. I didn't regret it at all. After about 2 to 3 months, I was like in the groove, and that was it. Yeah. I won't ever go back.
What was the hardest thing for you at the time?
I think it was like noticing, reading labels like the hidden milk powder in stuff that you don't think.
Oh yes.
Stuff. I think that the other sneaky one is that because like milk is an allergen, isn't it? So it comes up in bold, so you can look for it quite quickly.
Yep.
But honey, for example, isn't.
Yes.
So I think I've made a mistake a few times, like buying cereal and then realizing it's got honey in it.
I lived on in works canteens, chips and baked beans, weeks on end. That was my lunch.
Chocolate is the hardest thing because I love chocolate. I love chocolate before I was vegan, and I love dark chocolate. We just don't get enough of it. So it's when I'm out and people are handing me sweets, and we go to a shops and I'm hungry. There's no point going to like Cost to go and buy a small cake for £5 when you could get a packet of sweets for 50p.
The food thing wasn't hard at all. I got it in my head. Then I was like, nah, that's not happening. I think the hardest thing was literally people. It was people's perception. I don't think it had anything to do with the fact I used to eat meat a lot. It was just people were like the usual crappy questions.
If I went out to a pub, I mean, I literally sat down and had a green salad, which was literally just lettuce, tomato and cucumber, and that was it. That's what they gave me for lunch.
Wow.
It was very hard to give up the cheese at first.
And then also it's not just the food thing. I think I found that difficult. People think, it's just a diet, don't they? But actually I then had to I had to buy a new duvet because my duvet was made from wool. We had feather cushions, pillows, and then clothes, like going through my wardrobe. I think there's still been things like quite recently I've looked and gone, oh, hang on, that's got a bit of silk in it or something. Or I sit down and notice something, a bit of furniture's got like a little leather tag on it or something.
The biggest challenge I find now, being vegan now, is the backlash. I think not so much eating, it's social media. I think the opinion. I think it takes me aback a little bit sometimes when I see the actual hatred that some people have towards vegans. I can't get my head around it.
It's all new, and you've got all this stuff in your head. You've watched these films and started looking at things on the internet and reading up on stuff. And people are saying, well, why don't you drink milk then? And you don't really want to say, well, you do want to say, well, because it's meant for baby cows. It's not meant for humans, like grown adults. It's not made for us. And all the other arguments for why you wouldn't have milk. But when you're in the kitchen at work making a coffee, you don't really want that sort of confrontation.
People ordering for you and things like that. I used to drive me up the wall, but my mates were doing it because it seemed to me not to call me out on it, but I'd be wanting to order, and they'd be talking to the waiter saying, "Oh, he's vegan. What can he have? Can he have this? Can he have that?" And I number of times, because it's at the end of the night, you've had a few beers, and I'd just be screaming blue murder at them. The whole place would just shut down because I'd effed and blinded and saying I can order my own effing food.
I don't think it was hard at all. It didn't sort of seem like a big jump from being vegetarian in a way for me. I mean, especially now, it's, what time to be alive? It's not difficult, is it, to be vegan? It's just there's stuff everywhere.
Well, I used to eat a lot of eggs. Eggs was kind of like a staple for me. The egg banjo was my, I used to survive on the egg banjo, like a banjo sandwich.
Is that code?
What's that?
What's an egg banjo?
Right, okay.
Is that code?
For the uninitiated, so an egg banjo is like you're making a fried egg sandwich, right? And you bite into it, and the yolk like spills down your front, as it always does. Then you hold the sandwich off to the side, and then like wipe it off your front. So it looks like you're playing the banjo.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
good again.
So all my clothes like had bits of yolk down the front. So. So I was probably like a one a day man on the banjos, but yeah, it didn't take long to get over that, to be honest. I mean, since that, the thing that's really caught up with me is my eyesight. You know, I've reached that kind of stage in my life where I need glasses quite a bit to read, and you know, ingredients are written so small on packets and tins. It's like I'm like in the supermarket and what is this? It's like I've got a chance. But apart from that, not an awful lot. I mean, there's a band thing, I guess, because we play quite a few gigs where people provide food. Occasionally, you know, I might get offered something vegan, but more often than not, it's like, you know, some dry curled up sandwiches, non-vegan sandwiches. So, you know, food's pretty much off the menu, like at gigs now. But I just have to eat properly before I leave, that's all.
What did your friends and family think about it?
When I was vegan the first time around and the second time around, generally people around me have always been quite good and supportive. And I think that's possibly because I've always tried not to be the kind of person that shoves it down people's throats and preaches to people. I'm not saying if that's what people want to do, that's wrong, but that's not me. And I think people, that's why I've always kind of, people have always accepted me, or as far as I'm aware, they've always accepted me.
I think friends was 50-50. Some of them were just like, that's crackers, but fair play to you. If that's what you're doing, that's fine. And they're on board with it. And the other 50% were just Mickey taking, which again is fine. I expected it to be 100% Mickey taking, but it wasn't, so that's fine. And family just, they're stuck in their ways.
Sisters didn't really care.
that's a very sisterly thing to do, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, my mother was fine with it. My dad was fine with it as well, although they were divorced. So, you know, it was a different household again with him. My brother was a caterer in the Navy, and he was fine with it as well. And he used to say about how they used to have a lot of, not vegans, but vegetarians that he used to cook for on board ship. So he was pretty okay with it as well. So the family were fine.
I don't think anybody was sort of shocked or surprised. It's almost like they're just like, oh yeah.
Friends were definitely the hardest. I tried not to go around and say, oh, I'm vegan.
The first real tester was I went to Birmingham for a family meal, and that I was offered chips and salad, and my mother-in-law sort of said to me on the quiet, she says, can't you just eat meat just for once? You know, you're spoiling it.
I think my nan did the old, do you want a wafer thin piece of ham in a sandwich once? And we were me and my sister were looking at her thinking, are you real?
So if it came up in conversation, like, what was your favorite chocolate? I just go, oh, I'm vegan. And then they go, oh my God, you're vegan. Oh, well. And they kind of, a lot of my friends were accepting, some less.
There's an element of banter that I'm perfectly fine with. Certain people at work who I kind of feel like I would let them get away with stuff that I wouldn't let other people get away with, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
You know, one guy he'd like stop in the cafe opposite our office on his way into work and say, you know, bring up and say, do you want a bacon sandwich? And then just hang up before I could swear at him.
Brilliant.
But I was okay with that because it's just part of the banter of the office. And I know he didn't mean it maliciously, because that was part of just the sort of relationship that we had, that we would just take the piss out of each other all the time. So
Yeah.
I was fine with that.
I think my parents didn't really, and still probably don't understand what it means. Like, I can remember my mum asking me, but you know, do you still eat tomatoes, or do you, like, I just can't, do you still eat pasta?
I think my mum will probably say, she thought, oh God, here we go. Oh God.
We'd go out and there'd be friends of friends, you know, you go out and you have a night out or something. There'd always be somebody in the group who wasn't one of my close friends who'd start going, oh, if you're on a desert island. And,
Well, I mean, I think, you know, judging by what I read online, you know, I've been very lucky because, you know, my friends and family have been just super cool about everything, really. I mean, my wife and son still eat meat. They eat like chicken, a little bit of fish, but not an awful lot. But they're totally great, you know, interested, you know, engaged, you know, we talk about it. You know, my wife's Irish, and it's just in her DNA, you know, what she eats. It's like inescapable, you know. But you know, they've been great, and they eat lots of food. I'm the main cook in the house, so they do eat a lot of vegan meals. And sometimes, you know, there's basically no difference. You know, I might put vegan mince in a pasta dish, or you know,
You can't tell, can you?
I've got no idea, you know. And it's like, well, why are you eating this stuff anyway? So no, they're great. And then my like extended family, like my brothers, like one's vegetarian, one's vegan. My mum, who's like in her 70s, is basically vegan now, and only recently. So she would have become vegetarian maybe 10, 15 years ago, and now she's cut out milk. So it's amazing if you can do it, like, you know, in your 70s. It's never too late.
No.
Yeah,
That's
and my
right.
friends are all great, you know, but I mean, I'm not one to like preach at anyone, so you know, I'll only talk about it if they ask.
Where do you get your protein?
Well, luckily, I am a big fan of lentils and beans, which, as far as I'm aware, are pretty protein packed.
I've got this lovely little thing that my protein-rich foods reminder, and it's just a list of where you can get your protein from. And we have I know we're on protein. I have my iron-rich foods list as well. So where do you get me protein? I'm not going to go through them all, but almonds, avocados, beans, broccoli, chickpeas, lots of seeds, kidney beans, rice, spaghetti, walnuts, tofu, sunflower seeds. There's plenty of places to get protein, and everyone has a panic about it, don't they?
Oh, the same as any herbivore. Plant power.
I started making smoothies with some peanut butter in or something like that, you know. And it's all about getting your protein from your whole foods and all this kind of thing.
I want to get my protein from its source rather than after it's gone through the digestive system and everything of an animal.
I have like flax seeds and hemp seeds, hemp and even broccoli, things like that. I don't really go out looking for it. It's because I've been eating it for so long that I just get used to it, and it's in my everyday meals and stuff, you know.
Almost like it's really easy to come across in most foods. Isn't that
It
strange?
is, yeah. It is.
If I'm doing my weight training, I do twice a week. I do take a protein shake then.
I want to get my B12. I'll just take a tablet rather than, you know, people say it comes from meat. It's just like, well, it doesn't. They've taken a supplement.
I mean, does beans have a lot of protein in it? I must have had an overload of protein about half a year ago.
Half a year ago? It's every week, every day.
No, it was every day about 6 months ago for about 3 months. All I ate was I ate beans on toast for breakfast, and it was every day.
Yeah. Well, beans are good for your heart.
We get our protein the same place the animals get theirs from.
Shock horror.
Well, I mean, as you can see, I'm basically able to stand and withering away, and I'm basically at death's door here, so yeah, I mean, it's a classic question, is it? Because, you know, non-vegans will always ask you that. Where do you get your protein? Where do you get your nutrients? You know, surely, you know, it's not healthy and all the rest of it. And really, I've paid almost no attention to that, like, ever. I mean, I went like 30 years vegetarian without ever taking a multivitamin. And now, having been vegan, I occasionally take the Vegan Society multivitamin if I remember, but then I'll forget for like 2 months. I've never had any ill effects. I mean, you know, your breakfast cereals are fortified with vitamins and minerals. You eat a decent variety of food. I mean, it's not really something you need to worry about. Trouble is, you know, most meat eaters eat very limited diets, and they're probably way more nutritionally deficient than I am, at least. I mean, it's kind of a non-issue for me, and it really always has been. You know, with protein, the thing about protein is when you become more aware of it when you're exercising, when you become a runner and that, you read articles and stuff. But most foods have got protein in, and unless you're like a world champion bodybuilder, you don't even need to supplement that, because your diet's got plenty in for everyone.
Yeah,
it's
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great attitude. And especially you say about meat eaters, most people don't have any idea how much protein they're getting. Just because they eat meat, it doesn't mean it's the right meat or a decent amount at all, does it? It's just one of those things they like to bash us over the head with.
That's it. Yeah, and becoming vegan, you think, well, I want to be careful with my health, so you research these things, and you know, you realize this, that like most people are probably deficient in some area because they eat quite a limited diet.
Absolutely.
Thinking about what you're eating is like really important. So, and being vegan has forced me to do that. I have a real appreciation for food now, which I didn't have before.
How have things changed for you?
I haven't got any thinner, that's for sure.
I find things so much easier. We don't have to overthink what we're eating so much. It's a bit weird, but
I've noticed, you know, the energy levels have been a lot higher. I've got, you know, more energy.
At the start, I lost nearly a stone in weight.
Wow.
Just from the way that we changed our diet, not through exercising more. I had already started doing parkrun on a Saturday morning, regularly-ish, and I think within 6 months of going vegan, I think I'd taken about 2 minutes off my personal best.
I started seeing people with the Kettering vegans. I went to a few of their meetings, and there was a vegan fair and things like this. So yeah, from being quite isolated, and then suddenly like they're everybody, aren't they?
Well, besides COVID, which I can't help, and maybe allergies I can't help either because that's like genetic and whatever. And I think I had a cold once, and that was off of picking it up from someone else. I haven't been ill, and I don't like being ill more than everyone else. I have a phobia of being ill.
I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole, shall we say, of bowel movements, but that changed.
I've probably made lots of new friends, lots of new vegan friends, especially from joining vegan runners. I also joined like a local vegan, Banbury Vegans on Facebook, and yeah, we have like quite regular meetups at cafes.
Oh, that's nice.
And we have like regular walks. So I've made some really nice friends, and it's just, you probably feel the same when you're just with people and they're all vegan. You just feel like part of I don't know, you found your tribe, haven't you? You go to a vegan runners meetup and it's people you've never met before. You know instantly that you've got something in common, and you can just start chatting straight away.
I feel better. I feel more healthy, and I don't know whether it's because I run as well, you know. But I seem to be okay. I mean, I used to be with meat, shall we say, I'd be really bloated feeling, you know, and I'm not now, you know.
Yeah, well, like, yeah, the food thing. So I just used to eat whatever came to hand, really. When I was vegetarian, I was like junk food vegetarian. It would be like veggie burgers and veggie sausages, and I didn't really think about it an awful lot. But looking back now, I realise I didn't really appreciate my food very much. So going vegan, it's like I just started searching for vegan recipes and stuff, started cooking, and it just got some good results. And I thought, this is great, we got like making some really nice stuff, got a real enthusiasm for it. So now I'm like batch cooking, freezing stuff, doing like, there's some that's like staple dishes that I make that I can't be without in the freezer. It'd be like barbecue beans with like mushrooms in, and it'd be like African peanut stew, and like some soups and stuff. And it's like I start getting nervous when I'm down to my last one. They're so good, it's like addictive. It's like,
yeah,
I almost don't like going out to it, because it's like, I know I can get a better meal at home. So that's been really cool, connecting with food, really.
What advice would you give to anyone who's thinking about going vegan?
Get on social media and go and look at as much social media as you can. Go and whatever's made you change, whatever's made you want to learn more, go and learn more.
Just do it now. Just
do a bit of research, and diet change or whatever. B12, definitely B12. I'm always taking B12, and just if need be, just phase into it slowly, but I wouldn't sort of do it overnight, I don't think.
Also, I would say to them, go on the Viva website and order those. I think they do like a starter pack, which is what I ordered, and you get those little laminated nutrition things saying where you get your protein, calcium, iron. I think they've got, and then they do another long one that lists all the vitamins and minerals and what foods and everything is in there.
I'd obviously congratulate them, because they've finally taken notice of whatever this hell of a meat industry is, and that when people come to question you on it, you kind of you don't have to know your stuff. You have to know at least something, or at least research before you go out and start preaching about it, if you are going to preach.
I mean, number one, you've got to get it. You've got to be convinced in your mind what you're doing and why you're doing it. As I said, I think I touched on it before. You're vegan for the animals. You're not vegan for climate change. You're not vegan for health. That's not vegan. That's plant-based. So if you want to be vegan, you've got to be convinced in your mind that you're doing it because you don't like animal suffering and animal abuse.
Do your research, plan your meals so that you've got stuff in, because I think if you haven't planned ahead, if you go to the fridge or the cupboard and there's nothing in there that you fancy or nothing that you can make, you've got to basically have stuff sort of in your locker, if you like, that you can knock up quickly.
Have a look at all the stuff that's accidentally vegan. Because you think, I can't eat anything. But actually, like, there's so many biscuits, aren't there? Like party rings, jammy Dodgers.
I think the thing is just like being supportive. Like, I've seen like people go vegan in so many different ways and for so many different reasons. And it doesn't matter if your starting point is just like cutting out, meat on one day, or cutting out dairy, or whatever it is. Whatever that first step is, you're making a difference. It's individuals who make a difference. It's not like governments, or it's not like out of your hands. You're not too small to make a difference. It doesn't matter what you're doing the right thing for the right reason. Hopefully eventually you get there to veganism. That's great, But it's all about encouraging people. I'm not one of these confrontational people. I'm not like one of these activists who runs to McDonald's throwing blood everywhere or whatever it is. It's like that's for me. That's not the way to win the argument. Make good food and share it with people. That's the way. Wear your vegan runner's top and show people that you're not about to fade away. That's my activism. Yeah, I mean, in these days, it's so easy. You walk around a supermarket and it's like everywhere you look, there's just great food. You could eat a different meal every day for a year without a problem, So there's so much good stuff out there. Now's the time if you're going to do it.
When people do ask me, why are you vegan? Is it for the planet, or is it for health reasons, or is it for animals? They normally say, and I'll normally just go, all of them, or I'll say, I just don't really like eating animals. And I think people are a bit like, all right, yeah, I get that then. But yeah, the other thing, and I always say this, you say, oh, can I eat this? Can I have it? And I say, you can eat it, but you choose not to. And that's the difference. If you tell yourself, oh, I can't have that, and you're always living in that, oh, I can't have this, and I can't have that, and I can't have that, and you're living in that negativity. Whereas I think if you, twofold, you think, well, I can have, look at all these things I can have, but also turn it around and think, no, I'm not doing this to punish myself. Why am I doing it? I can eat it if I want to, but then afterwards, will I feel good about that? I know I wouldn't.
Who is your vegan inspiration?
I wouldn't say I have one as such, because I was in so much of a void, or whatever, as I say, with being the only vegan around, and not hearing anything. I mean, in the last few years and since joining Vegan Runners, I know of Fiona Oakes, who's a lot of inspiration to a lot of people, or a lot of the other runners, but that's only something recent for me. When I was thinking about it, I thought, what was my inspiration, or my vegan inspiration, is not a who, it's a what, and it was the organization, which I said a couple of times now, was the Vegan Society.
I'm going to go with Greta. Because of the climate activism, because as a very, very lazy environmentalist, that was one of the reasons that Cowspiracy especially sort of touched a nerve with me.
Well, the two people that made Cowspiracy and Seaspiracy, probably.
I think any good vegan runner would have to say, first of all, Fiona Oakes. She runs an animal sanctuary in Essex called Tower Hill Stables, and she's basically devoted her whole life to taking in animals and looking after them. So she's definitely way up there. And then I think probably after her would be Earthling Ed, I think, because we all love Earthling Ed.
My wife, right at the top, and then a little gap. Give it a gap at least, because then there's they're all bunched up then, and it's all all the legendary celebs that are there.
Right. Yeah.
And Earthling Ed, Joey Carbstrong, Mr. DiCaprio.
Okay.
And although he's my inspiration, I can't remember the life of me what his name is. Mr. Phoenix, Joaquin Phoenix.
I think yes, the old time vegans, if you like. Your wife is up there from when I first knew her, and also people like Alicia Silverstone.
Sorry, just quickly, the old time vegans can I just confirm that my wife is not 40 yet?
No, that's true. Okay, historic vegans, is that better? Ancient vegans.
Ancient vegans, prehistoric vegans.
You put her at the top, and I called her an ancient vegan. But people who were doing it years and years ago, that made it easier for people like us. Yeah. Because we've come along, and there's a ton of vegan stuff in the supermarkets that makes it quite easy.
Oh, Chris Packham. Well, I wasn't actually going to say Chris Packham, but yeah, he obviously is.
If he's listening, he obviously is.
Yeah. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Probably watching it thinking, oh, God,
loved you on the Really Wild Show.
Yeah, I watched Chris Peckham talk at Vegan Camp Out, and it was really good. It was a highlight for me.
When I started this the journey 26 years ago, there was me. You know, there was obviously others, but it was just me and nobody else. And I couldn't talk to anybody about it and all this. And although I'm not the first one, sometimes I like to look at it as they've all followed me kind of thing, you know. And thank you for following me and what I believe in. And yeah, to each and every single person. I haven't, you know, got anybody in particular really.
Ah, well, I guess, I mean, you know, a lot of vegans would like say it was some like high profile activist like Earthling Ed or, you know, Joey Carbstrong or someone. But for me, rather soppily, it's my youngest brother.
Cool.
So like, well, all of my brothers actually are inspiration to me in one way or another. My brother Kieran kind of helped me turn vegetarian. My middle brother Aidan inspired me to take up running, which I'm forever grateful for. He basically said, "Are you going to do this half marathon?" And I'm like, "But I'm like fat and unhealthy." But I didn't want to be outdone, so I did it anyway. And my youngest brother Damien, he's and his partner Robin, they went vegan like, I don't know, like as I say, maybe six, 7 years ago. Didn't even mention it; they just were vegan. And they decided to start a business, so they bought a horse box and kind of set up a little food truck and went to festivals selling like wraps and burgers and things, which I thought was really cool. You know, I was kind of finding out more about that, and obviously, you know, it set the wheels in motion with me thinking about veganism again. And they were really successful. They did lots of like food shows and stuff. They're selling out everywhere they went. So eventually they moved into like kind of like a box park in Manchester, at Hatch, you know, selling vegan street food. They'd be doing like Philly cheese steaks and like ribs and wings and burgers and, you know, just all the good stuff really.
Where's that then?
That's in Hatch in Manchester. So if you look it up, it's like a pretty famous. It's kind of like shipping containers with like units in, like hip clothing and food outlets and stuff. So they did that. Then last year they opened a restaurant as well in Manchester, in Withington. So they've now got a restaurant called Herbivorous, selling the same kind of stuff, but that also serves as a kitchen as well. So they've expanded their unit at Hatch, so that's now like one of the biggest ones that there is there. Wow. So they've got these 2 locations, and it's just doing brilliantly well. They're like big on sustainability, which is like really cool. They do like seitan making workshops, which is really awesome as well. So they fill the restaurant with people making, you know, fake meats, which is great. And they're just like really awesome, you know, just really kind, brilliant people.
What's the best thing about being vegan?
It's the halo above my head.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's shining bright. That is amazing.
Saving animals.
Well, there's the obvious, isn't there, that you're not, you know, you can sleep at night knowing that you're not causing harm to animals. I think that's probably up there with the best thing.
Apart from saving the world, saving animals, and being more healthy,
yes,
which is obviously the best thing about being vegan.
That goes
I think it's that. I think it's the fact that when it's a nice little community to be part of.
You get to try a lot, not a lot more food, but you get to try a different food.
Finding sort of some kind of community and new friends like vegan runners and my local vegan group. I think that's been really, really good.
For me, it's having less choice when you go out to eat.
I mean, initially, I found out the cruel practices, and that was the reason for not eating meat. But I think it's got a bit more over the years. There's a few more aspects in it, you know, the planet, etc. You know, and I do my bit, even down to plastic in that. You know, it's just want to do the right thing, really. But yeah, definitely the animals. I just don't want the animals to suffer.
Well, being better than everybody else is a good thing. No, sorry, I'll edit that out. The best thing for me is, so I mentioned before that I do park run, and I think it must have been someone I followed on Instagram who was vegan, and one weekend I saw they put up a photo of them in a running vest, and it said vegan runners across the front. So did a little bit of Googling, and I found this running club. It's the second or third largest running club in the country.
Wow, that's good.
Got around 3,000 members, I want to say.
Cool.
I've met so many awesome people through that. It's been absolutely fantastic and really motivating as well.
Trying lots of different new foods that I probably wouldn't have experimented with before. I mean, I enjoy cooking a lot more now.
The best thing about being vegan. So, I mean, the best thing about it is just like not knowing, the feeling of knowing that I'm not a fraud, you know, that I'm not living not in accordance with my moral values. Because if you know something's not right and you carry on doing it, then it, even if you bury it, it's still there in your subconscious. So you do get a sense of, well, for me anyway, I get a sense of inner peace, that I'm at least living in a way that's, you know, in accordance with what I really believe.
Yeah.
That's massive for me. You know, I think nothing tastes better than that. You know, It's like.
What's your favourite vegan product at the moment?
Have you had any of the squeaky bean stuff? They do, I think is it like a char grilled barbecue, like little pieces? The char grilled barbecue one is pretty amazing. I mean, all of their stuff is good, I think, but that's my particular favourite. And then a close second would be Sainsbury's own, which I think is their range called Plant Pioneers. They do a porkless pie. You get like 4 little pork pies.
The chocolate vegan yogurt things, it's Alpro. Not mousse, but it's like a yogurt thing. It's really nice.
It's going to sound really Route 1, but Richmond meat-free sausages,
beautiful,
are quite tremendous.
I can't seem to get them, but Miami burgers, they're the best ones I've found. I love them. They were really good. They did them in Iceland, and I can't get them anymore from anywhere. Co-op Grow burgers are really good. Love them.
Okay.
And
interesting.
Hashtag VFC.
For
chicken.
Yes, we had fish and chips for dinner, and it wasn't the fish that was great, but it was the Sackler vegan tartar sauce. It was tremendous,
brilliant,
really, really good.
I think it's got to be me Oatly. I can't, you know how much I love my coffee, and when I think what product do I have every single day without fail, it's that.
I know it's a bit boring, but I've really got into fruit. I don't know about a product, but the things I'm really going for at the minute is even beetroot and fruit as well. It's blueberries. Absolutely, I used to hate them, but absolutely love them now. You know, I mean, we were trying processed food, whatever. We were trying. Is it the pucker pie, the vegan one, and we absolutely love that. And the chicken. Kind of like the chicken pieces. That's the word I'm thinking of. It looks and tastes like what I remember chicken, but it probably doesn't. But you know,
chickpeas. I absolutely love chickpeas. I have them in curry. I have them in a salad, and you get the best product, I suppose, out there, which is hummus.
I'm wearing my Adidas Stan Smiths.
Oh, lovely.
Which are the vegan version and are flipping brilliant.
Oatly barista, Chicago town, stuffed crust, bacon and mushroom pizza, spicy chicken burgers. You get an Aldi. Chickpeas, the king of the cupboard.
Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it and found something useful.
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, WordPress, and YouTube. Just search for How I Vegan Podcast.
And you can send an email or a voice note to us at howiveganpodcast@gmail.com.
If you want to get involved, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search for How I Vegan Podcast.